welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, this is the Survivor's Guide to Life. My name is Jessica Lang and I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist who talks on this channel all things related to trauma, the brain, and healing. So if that's your jam, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below so you can be notified every time I upload a new video. And while you're at it, we're going to shamelessly plug you going over to Instagram and following me there, where I share more tips and tricks on trauma, on the brain, attachment, just a bunch of things about therapy and other random things that are happening in my life. So I don't know, I think it's interesting. Go ahead and check it out and come back over here and watch more videos, obviously. So in today's video, I'm actually going to continue talking about attachment and kind of attachment disruptions and how that causes trauma symptoms. But in today's video, what I'm going to do is do it by talking and giving you examples that I found in a book that I recently read. I did the audiobook version of this book, and it was recommended by, which book? I'm obsessed with booktubers, but there's three in particular, and I'll list the three down below that I really, really like. And I can't remember which one of them. Actually, I do remember. It was read by Zoe. There we go. So I'll try to find the video read by Zoe where she recommended this book, and I really liked it. It's so interesting. Lately, I've been really into reading again, and one of the things that I'm finding is, you know, these books that people are recommending, these booktubers that I like, are recommending to me when I get into it. A lot of them have themes of trauma and attachment. So I thought, you know, I'm going to start doing a little bit more of this on my channel because I feel like it can be very kind of nuanced, or it can be hard to imagine what trauma is or what attachment issues are or whatever I'm talking about. It might be hard to kind of conceptualize that, but if I point out examples and talk about them maybe in fiction, maybe that'll help you have like a better understanding or a better grasp of things. Because it sounds like when you read the DSM or you read the, you know, Google, what's depression, what's that, you know, you might think, oh, I have that, or, you know, it seems very kind of cut and dry, and so it can be easy to say, oh, I have this or I don't have this. If you kind of look at actual examples of things, I don't know, I feel like it gives it a little bit more clarity and makes it feel a little bit more real if that's something you want to know. So that's what I'm going to do for you today. So the book I'm going to share today that I'm going to talk about is called Everything I Never Told You by Celeste Ng. So, and that's, I'm going to look, good God. In the description box, I'm going to give you more about the book and the author so you can check it out. I got it at the library, so if you have a library card, a lot of libraries have audiobooks, so you can check it out. So the book is basically about a girl who was found dead, and they're trying to piece together her life to figure out how, like, what happened to her. So I'm not going to give you any spoilers and talk about what happened and what they found out, but what they did in the book is they pieced together parts of her life. So they looked at the relationship she had with her parents, they looked at her parents' relationship with each other, and then the relationship she had with her siblings and what the relationship they have with each other. So that's, I thought, perfect when we're talking about attachment, because hello, it's relationships. And so I just wanted, there was a couple parts that I really liked that I wanted to kind of talk about from the book and just give you more of my therapist spiel on what those are. This first clip, the mother's name is Marilyn, her daughter's name is Lydia, and Marilyn had been gone for some time, and she had just come back, and she is kind of reconnecting and like getting back into the family system and finding her place again. And so this clip is kind of just a microcosm of the relationship she began to cultivate with her oldest daughter, and that you'll learn about if you read the book subsequently.
Marilyn decided. For her it was too late, but it wasn't too late for Lydia. Marilyn would not be like her own mother, shunting her daughter toward husband and house, a life spent safely behind a deadbolt. She would help Lydia do everything she was capable of. She would spend the rest of her years guiding Lydia, sheltering her, the way you tended a prize rose, helping it grow, propping it with stakes, arching each stem toward perfection.
For the first reading, it describes the mom talking about what she wanted for her daughter. And in last week's video, I talked about, you know, attachment and how, you know, for a lot of parents, you know, our children are like a reflection of us or an extension of us. And so we have hopes and dreams for them. And this mom had hopes and dreams for her daughter. And she wanted to kind of cultivate that, and she wanted her daughter to achieve the things that she never did. And as a result, she kind of pushed her daughter down a certain path. And, whether or not that was what her daughter wanted to do, she never really took that into consideration. Providing like a little bit of context too is that the mother had wanted to be a doctor, and she got pregnant, fell in love, etc. And so she gave up that dream. And when the little girl was, I think, 5, the mom just left. She just wanted to go back, finish up her studies. So she just left for about 3 weeks and didn't tell her family where she was, didn't say anything, didn't say goodbye. So for a 5-year-old, that's a long time. They don't really have, like, 5-year-olds don't really have a concept of time in the way that we adults do. We understand, like, you're going to go and then you're going to come back. So not only did mom not do that piece where she said, hey, I'm going to go away, I love you, miss you, bye. But at least she could kind of soften that. She just left. She effectively abandoned her child. Like, that's the way she felt. Like, the poor girl was worried, she was freaked out, whatever. And then she came back, and the daughter does what children do when they've missed their caregiver, their parent. They latch onto them. They want to be close to them. They seek out proximity. That's part of, like, that's how we seek connection with others. We seek being close with them. And so the mother mistook and she would read the daughter like books about medicine and things of that nature, and the daughter's like, read me more, mom, read me more. And as a therapist, when I heard this, I was like, the mom was like, oh my god, yes, she loves science, she wants to be a doctor. And my therapist brain was like, no, she just wants to be close with you. She's afraid that you're gonna leave again, so she's keeping you close by, yeah, mom, read me that other book, because that's what's keeping you nearby her, right? That's anxiety. That is an example of anxiety in a child. It's not, they don't, she didn't care about the book that the mom was reading. She just wanted her mom to be there. So she climbed in her lap and was like, read me another one, mom. And the mom, not recognizing that this is anxiety in her child, and be like, trying to reassure her, like, I understand you're afraid, and like naming those feelings for her so that she could understand like what's going on. She just kept reading her books, right? And so then it morphs now into this girl being kind of a perfect student and doing everything that her mom asks of her, because she doesn't want her mom to leave, right? Because her mom already left. And mom not understanding that this is a fear response. This is like typical fear response that's happening. She just keeps pushing her and pushing her and pushing her. So she's actually creating insecure attachment, like I talked about in the previous video, where she's putting on unrealistic expectations for her child. And it, like, if you read the book, you'll hear more about kind of what that looks like, and I'm trying not to give you any spoilers, so that's why I'm not going into it in that way. So the son Nath was feeling really eclipsed by his sister Lydia, because mom was gone, but mom's attention was solely focused on Lydia. And so there was this instance where he was by himself and mom was there, and he's trying to connect with her and he's trying to bond with her. So in this clip you'll kind of see like what that dynamic is like.
Mother, still in her bathrobe, gave him a sleepy smile over the rim of her teacup. It was the first time she had really looked at him since she came home, and something fluttered in his throat like a little bird. Can I have a hard-boiled egg? He asked. And like a miracle, she said, all right. For a moment, he forgave her everything. He decided he would show her the pictures of the astronauts he'd been collecting, his lists of launches, everything. She would understand them. She would be impressed. Then, before he could say a word, Lydia pattered down the steps, and his mother's attention flitted away and alighted on Lydia's shoulders. Nath pouted in the corner, flicking the edges of his folder, but no one paid any attention to him until his father came into the kitchen. Still mooning over those astronauts? He said, plucking an apple from the fruit bowl on the counter. He laughed at his own joke and bit into the apple, and even across the kitchen, Nath had heard the hard crunch of teeth-piercing skin. His mother, listening to Lydia recount last night's dream, had not. She had forgotten all about his egg. The little bird in his throat had died and swelled so that he could hardly breathe.
So for that clip, right, you have the son who also misses his mom, who she's back, she's caught up with her own dreams for her daughter, is not paying attention to her son. Now the daughter wasn't in the room at the time, so she was temporarily giving him some attention. He asked for what he needed, he felt happiness, and then the daughter came down and distracted mom, and she effectively forgot about him, so that he was now feeling alone. So now you're talking about that disconnection, right? He's no longer feeling connected to his parent, to his mother. And during this whole time, he also was developing a contentious relationship with his father. He, I think, was like 6 or 7 years old, right? And, you know, I'll share a clip about like the relationship he had with his dad. But you can see here how somebody, like, even though these parents, you know, on the outside are covered, this is an example of the emotional needs not being met. You know, you're in the process of doing something very nurturing, which is feeding, right? Feeding your child, giving him a hard-boiled egg. It seems very simple for us, but the act of like feeding somebody and providing them with nourishment is a way of connecting. It is showing love. And so by mom stopping what she was doing to pay attention to the daughter, makes him feel displaced, like he doesn't matter, like his needs don't matter in the grand scheme of things. And as a result, like he couldn't wait to get the heck out of that house because he was feeling isolated and alone and disconnected. The son Nathan and his sister Lydia are at their school doing a 3-legged race with like an egg, and they were like looking like they were gonna win, and then they didn't. And so the dad, feeling shame and anger of that they didn't win, makes some comments towards the son, and like you get a glimpse of kind of like what their relationship is like and how that's currently impacting Nathan now.
Said, and for a moment Nath felt better. Then his father added, "Now if they had a contest for reading all day." All month he had been saying things like this. Things that sounded like jokes, but weren't. Every time, as he heard his own voice, James bit the tip of his tongue, too late. He did not understand why he said these things to Nath, for that would have meant understanding something far more painful. But Nath reminded him more and more of himself, of everything he wanted to forget from his own boyhood. He knew only that it was becoming a reflex, one that left him smarting and ashamed, and he glanced away. Nath looked down at his broken egg, yolk trickling between blades of grass, whites seeping into the soil. Lydia gave him a small smile, and he ground the shell into the dirt with his sneaker. When his father turned his back, Nath spat into the lawn at his feet.
So I really liked that passage as well because it was an example of intergenerational trauma. So this is we are just kind of now starting to understand how trauma gets passed down, and we know that, you know, repeated traumas throughout a person's life and throughout generations can actually change DNA, and it's called epigenetics, and I'm not going to get into that at all because it's, you know, very fancy and really scientific-y, but you can Google it and you can learn about it if you're interested. But what you're talking about is like a learned experience. So for the father, he was Chinese American. The book, I believe, was from the 60s, like set in the 60s. So he felt very different, very isolated. He had a lot of his own, this is the father, shame around being Chinese and going to like a privileged school where he was the only person who was Chinese, and his parents worked in the kitchen. They worked at the school, and so he was ostracized. He felt alone. He felt disconnected, and he noticed that his son was kind of displaying some of those same behaviors, and he didn't want that. He wanted his son to fit in. He wanted his son to always belong. He didn't want his son to be different. And so the act of like wanting something different for his child, he actually perpetuated a lot of fear and anxiety because he would put all this pressure and say nasty things and mean things that would hurt his son's feelings, and not feel, and he, instead of like embracing his son and helping him feel, you know, like at least in the home he was loved and he was wanted, he treated him like something was wrong with him. So not only did he not have anything out in the world with friends, this boy didn't have any friends. He also felt different and alone at home. So he had no safe space. Again, you're talking about anxiety, you're talking about fear. So what is his identity going to be if there's no safe space for him? And that's effectively what we were talking about. And the dad recognized that he was saying hurtful things, and yet he could not reach out to his son and change what he was saying. He couldn't stop himself, right? And that's an example of intergenerational trauma. He doesn't want to be that way, but he can't even stop himself. He's just in that moment. He's in his own fear. He's in his own shame. And that's how he's parenting. And it's coming off, and it's now affecting his child. So this is like, again, this is how you create this, like this book, these characters are an example not only of like what insecure attachment looks like, how it kind of breeds about, these are like repeated types of interactions. I'm just showing you one, separate clips, but like these are patterns that get talked about throughout the whole book, right? That reinforce, like, for the son Nate, you don't matter, you're not the same as the sister, you're too different, I don't like you. Like, that's how he felt. And for the daughter Lydia, it's, in order to keep mom close, you got to say yes to everything she asks of you. You don't have your own opinion, you don't have your own mind. Both of them were isolated. Both of these kids didn't have friends. They didn't know how to connect to other people as a result of these relationships that they had with their parents. Both fear-based, right? Where for Nate, he became more of an avoidant type, and for Lydia, she became more of the clingy type. I need to keep you close at all costs. So then for the fourth clip, you have daughter Hannah. She's the youngest. I'm not going to give any context about her other than like she's the youngest, and she kind of flies under the radar, and she's not really connected to either of her parents. So this kind of gives you like a little glimpse into her world.
Up her nursery and a bedroom in the attic, where things that were not wanted were kept. And even when she got older, now and then each of them would forget fleetingly that she existed. As when Marilyn, laying 4 plates for dinner one night, did not realize her omission until Hannah reached the table. Hannah, as if she understood her place in the cosmos, grew from quiet infant to watchful child. A child fond of nooks and corners, who curled up in closets, behind sofas, under dangling tablecloths, staying out of sight as well as out of mind, to ensure the terrain of the family did not change.
So now we're talking about the youngest daughter, Hannah, and how in the sphere of, where is she finding her place? She's the forgotten child. I was going to say something and then I realized it might be a spoiler, so I'm not going to spoil it for you. But, she's the youngest child, and mom has latched onto her daughter Lydia, who she wants to be everything she couldn't be. Dad doesn't want the son Nate to be anything like him, so he becomes detached from him. And then you have Hannah, right, who's kind of she's not noticed, she's not seen, she's effectively ignored. So how does she now grow up and see herself? What is her identity in the context of not having either of her parents' attention, right? Who was she going to become? So she grew to be somebody who was very observant. She was able to read other people's behaviors because that's how she was going to survive in the world. But there's no connecting. She also doesn't have any connection. So I don't know. I really found this book to be powerful. I know some people don't necessarily like it, but if you're really looking at like a person's history and how things on the outside can look perfect and like there's nothing wrong, and then you dive deep and you see these kind of instances and you learn about these type of interactions, you can see how easy it is in essence to develop like an insecure attachment because of the anxiety and the fear that was just rampant throughout the family's culture, and how this impacted the daughter who ended up dying, and the choices that she made. And if you want to kind of like extend this to your, as an adult, do you have experiences like this where you felt, detached or disconnected from your family, like you didn't belong in some type of way? And how does that affect you now when you're interacting with others? Do you kind of overdo it? Do you try to, show off how amazing you are? Maybe you seem like really overconfident because you're masking that fear that you're not enough. Are you, somebody who anybody gives you any type of attention, any type of, says you're pretty, and now they're like your best friend, or you're in love with them, or what have you, just because they paid you that attention? Do you have a hard time saying no? Do you just become the yes person, doing whatever somebody asks you because you don't want them to go away? This is how these early childhood experiences morph into adult problems. So I hope you like this video. I plan to do some more, so I hope you like them, because I had a lot of fun doing them. I have a lot of fun. I really enjoy reading. I like finding actual examples out in the media and the world to kind of highlight what I'm talking about. So I really hope you like this video. Comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Is there anything else you want to know? Any books you think I should check out, I should read, and then do a video on that you think talk about attachment or trauma, and I will do my best to make that happen. So that's all I have for today, and I will see you in the next one.